Clerks 3, folks should go see it now. It's on Fathom
He
Event
saw it.
Screens.
I went last night. Yeah,
You dig it? Where'd you
loved
see
it. I went in Clifton.
How was that?
It was actually fantastic. So it was a packed theater, and one of the B production assistants was there wearing their Clerks 3 production thing.
So they were rock stars.
Brought a huge crew with them, and during the credits, they were cheering when they saw their name. And
Oh,
everything.
that fucking
It was
rocks.
awesome, though. I really loved it.
Thank you for that. Yeah, it's a real. I've been on tour with it. You can see it on Fathom Event Screens until Sunday. But I'm touring with it until Thanksgiving on the convenience tour. So every night, I get to watch it, except this week because we cleared out for Fathom. I get to watch it with 1,000 to 1,500 people, man, who are hardcores. Mm-hmm. And you're talking about people who've overpaid to see the movie. It's like $50 or something like that. So even if the movie sucks, they're like, this rocks! Because they're out on an expensive night. And for me, it's bliss because I stand behind the screen. And that's where all the love goes, right? Everyone's laughing in the direction of the screen. The affection, everything goes forwards. So I'm right behind the screen like fucking Tony Stark when the Jericho bomb goes off. Just fucking waves of appreciation. So it's been absolute bliss. It seems to be an emotional journey for a lot of cats.
Yeah.
Everyone's going in looking for the funny, and we give them the funny for the first hour and change. But then in the last the last third, we give you a Clerks movie nobody would have expected, in 1994, in 2006, or even fucking in 2022. It's just, we go a different way with it. I couldn't give you the authenticity that I could give you in the first one, in as much as that was a movie about boots on the ground experience in retail. I don't have that anymore. I used to be the guy dealing with fucking Karens and shit. Now I'm the guy that owns the store. So if an employee's like, this job would be great if it weren't for fucking customers, I'd be like, you're fucking fired. So I can't give you that experience. You know who can? If I was going to make an authentic Clerks 3 that was like the first Clerks, I wouldn't even do it. There's that guy on TikTok with the mustache who does the IKEA things. You ever watch those?
Yes.
Dude is legit brilliant. That's Clerks. That's the modern Clerks. He does it in 60 seconds. And I'm like, fuck, that's fantastic. I can't do that anymore. So in lieu of that, I had to find some authenticity to shove up the movie's ass so that it plays, so that it feels real. Second Clerks, predicated on nothing. I love that movie, but it's made up, whole cloth. It's a fan fiction, Dante and Randall fan fiction. Clerks is literally my life with just people's names changed. So that's why it feels authentic. It feels authentic because it was made by a guy working at that convenience store who turned the camera off while shooting to ring you up and then fucking turn the camera back on to make the movie. So since I can't do those things, I figured I can still replicate the formula that made Clerks to me what it was, which is I'm just going to take my life and change everybody's names. And this time around, in order to do that, I stripped my life of the heart attack and gave it to Randall, and I gave the boys, Dante and Randall, the opportunity to make the movie that we made years ago. So the movie becomes this kind of fun meta affair, which if you've ever seen Clerks fucking more than once, and you sit here and watch this movie, you're taken through a funhouse ride at one point as they try to make their version of Clerks, and it becomes this kind of greatest hits album or a cover album of some sort. Yeah, it's so strange. But then in the third act, and correct me if I'm wrong, you start reflecting on these characters, and for some reason you start reflecting on yourself. That's what I notice in the audience, which is it starts with them feeling about Dante and Randall and then turns into self-reflection, because you're like, how long have I been watching these movies? And they're old, and how old am I? And wait a second, what's the message here? Holy shit. So the movie tends to leave you with a lot more than you expected coming in. I feel like we deliver the movie we promised in the trailer. Yeah. But then we give you a secret second movie, which is like, oh shit, that was worth the effort.
So I'm a cry guy. I'm not afraid to admit.
Yeah, you are. Yeah,
There were tears last night.
I walked him out of Endgame. I walked him out of Endgame in tears.
It is very much our version of that.
I was only not in tears with Endgame because we cried at the press screening 2 days before. So I'd already. Yeah,
we were watching. We had already seen it, so we're just watching Robbie, waiting for his reaction for everything.
I cry every fucking time. I saw that at the premiere. I saw Endgame at the premiere. Chris Hemsworth was like, he shot with us that day for Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. And then I was like, what are you doing tonight? He's like, I'm going to the premiere. He's like, you going? And I was like, no. He's like, you want to go? And I was like, fuck yeah. And so I got to be one of his dates, one of his harem, if you will. And I saw that shit with everybody at the premiere, man, and fucking bawled like a baby.
We saw you actually at the Infinity
War
screening
screening
in
here in
42nd
New York.
Street. Yeah, at 42nd.
That was the one where fucking when Tony got stabbed. I'm gonna say,
You
I
were
was
in-
like, no.
Yeah.
You were in a different theater than us, actually.
Yeah, you were
so
in the
we
one
were.
next to-
Yeah,
yeah.
they
You
split
might have
us
heard
up.
me in the other theater. I was so upset.
We like walked to the theater and like we were just like in the lobby. We walked past you. We were just like, holy shit, was that Kevin Smith behind us? And,
I did. I lucked into going to a press screening and shit, and
Yeah.
I dragged my wife. Oh my god, that was one of my favorite movie going experiences of my life. And that was an audience that was made up of like press, but also like they put a bunch
The
of
families
fans
and
in
stuff
there,
come with them
and
too,
families.
yeah.
So it was like a nice cross section. It wasn't like a bunch of so you couldn't hear every fucking line, but everybody was so fucking grooving into. And I was the fucking loud one where you couldn't hear every line. Sadly.
Robbie, I know you wanted to ask before we get into our nerd hot take. You wanted to ask about the
Clerks question for
Yeah.
you. I loved Jay and Silent Bob Reboot as well. That was an
Thank you.
awesome movie going experience for me as well. I went and saw it in the city, the double feature with Strike Back.
Yeah, they did both.
Did
That
the
was the
way
other Fathom thing we
did the way that got so much praise from your fan base, especially impact the way you made Clerks 3?
It's not so much the way it impacts, but I saw somebody, Russ Burlingame, wrote a tweet today that I said, oh, that's interesting. He goes, between Jay and Silent Bob and Reboot and Clerks 3, I think it's clear that Kevin has entered his Marvel Phase 2 with the newest universe. And I was like, oh, I guess you're right. Like, we've done it, and now we're kind of doing a second layer. And if we wind up getting to do Twilight of the Mallrats, fingers crossed, it is very much part and parcel with that. So it's like, here's all the funny you remember, and here's a bunch of heart. That's just where I am in my life. Like, at age 52, I'm happy to make people laugh, but like, you want to give them something else. Like, anybody can make them laugh at this point. Like when I started, I could be like, hey man, snowballing, right? And you'd be like, I never heard of that shit. That's funny as fuck. Then the internet happened, and you don't need me for that, because the internet will teach you far better than snowballing, and you'll learn it like the second it starts happening. Fucking so, there's no like dirty curse words that I can bring to you to make me relevant anymore.
We're kind of desensitized to it thanks to the internet. Yeah.
I mean, fuck,
Yeah.
you could watch an episode of Ted Lasso and they curse better than they curse
Yeah.
in Clerks. More eloquently, funnier. So I can't do that anymore, but what I can do is the older I get, the more experience I got, the more wisdom I got. And not wisdom like I'm smarter, but you just got experience. You know what's important, and you know what you want to pass on. In the beginning, I just wanted to make you laugh. And now I just want to make you laugh, but I want to make you think. I want to make you feel. I want you to take something from it, because I remember reading in George Carlin's sort of biography. It was called Last Words, and they put it out after he passed away. It's a book that he was writing with Tony Hendra. It was meant to be the basis for the Broadway show that he wanted to spend the rest of his life doing, called New York Boy, which would do the story of his life, but he passed away. So they put the book out. And I'm sorry, I keep hitting the table. I'm a podcaster. They put the book out, and in the book, there's a piece that he wrote that he said, when you're making people laugh, before you make people laugh, he's going, people put a performance of themselves. And like, you never see a real person. You see the projection that they put forward. Like, this is me, the character of them that they play. He goes, but when a person is laughing, sorry, I keep hitting the table. When the person is laughing, that is an involuntary action. You cannot maintain a performance through an involuntary action. So what happens is the performance, the facade falls away. And when a person's laughing, he said, that is when you see exactly who that fucking person is. They're completely unguarded. He goes, at that moment in time, their mind is open to suggestion, because you've just made them comfortable, pumped them full of fucking serotonin, and they trust you for whatever reason right in that moment. He goes, in that moment, I find it's best to put forward a new idea. That's the best time to do it. You don't fucking face them and be like, hey, you got to do a thing. You fucking get them laughing, you get them comfortable, and then you casually throw in some new ideas. So when I was a kid, like, I was starting to make flicks. My brother, Donald, I was just talking about in the other podcast, is gay. And I remember having a big discussion with him about, like, when you go to the movies, what's it like? Because it's always like boy meets girl and they fall in love. He's like, well, I can appreciate a fucking love story, but goes, yeah, it'd be nice if I could go to the movies and see me reflected up there. So I always felt like in everything I do, because my brother's going to have to sit through it, I was like, I should put some gay content in there. Because just so he's like this fucking breeder movie. Then all of a sudden, somebody's like, I'd take a dick in the mouth. He'd be like, oh, that's for me. So I put it in from a young point. And I, I'm not saying we changed the world, but like in the early 90s, it wasn't like it is now, where
Yeah.
guys were so fucking super uncomfortable about like being gay,
You're gay.
dick suck. Oh, it was a negative.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
even in fucking Clerks. So for me, I was always like, you know, not like let's normalize it, but like let's not make it a big deal. That's why Jay talks about sucking dick as much as he does. And for years, people just let it slide. The guys who would normally be like, I don't like that shit, man. He's talking about putting a dick in his mouth. Let it slide because like, I like Jay. He's funny. And slowly, like, mores change. You know, people start going like, being more comfortable with the notion that was fucking foreign. And an audience that I could speak to, like, who was, you know, I'm not saying they were underdeveloped or whatever, but they hadn't fucking grown yet or whatever. There was a chance to like reach him and maybe help him see the world through a larger prism rather than just be like, hey man, it's this or it's nothing. Either the world is this and you act this way or you're fucking not in my club. Acceptance, diversity, like letting a little bit more in. And over the course of my career, I'm happy to see that it's happened. My fan base is very like accepting and open and liberal and shit. And I ain't talking politically. It's just clearly you watch my movies and you know where I stand. There's a lot of liberal activity going on in those movies. And I just believe in America. And part of America is like the pursuit of happiness. And that's everybody. That's everybody's individual pursuit of happiness. I like to make movies about people and their tiny ass fucking pursuits of happiness that are fucking small. Now I'm at a place in my career where the characters are pursuing the same happiness that I pursued at the beginning of my career. With Dante and Randall, it felt important to me to give them the same opportunities they gave me. Like, they opened the world up to me because I made that movie. Fucking, I get to do this for a living. I get to, like, this is my job. Today I got 3 things. This, I go to ABC and do an interview, and then I do another fucking interview, and that's it. That's my fucking job. That's absolute fucking bliss, man, that is what life became and shit. And in exchange for that, you got an audience who follows you around. You want to give them back because they give you this life where you don't have to work anymore and shit. And now I could give them the money, but I need the money, so fuck that. I keep the money. But you want to give them something else. You want to impart a good idea, something they can take with them forward in life. So Clerks 3, the last third, is packed with that, of like reminders and shit. Like at the end of the day, this movie is a reminder, like, you are running out of time. Like, and you have something you want to do, start it.
It's the why not thing.
It is the why not thing. Why'd you point to your wrist? You got it on your
Why
wrist.
not? That was the first tat.
God.
Yeah. That was
It
my
is.
first one.
Somebody, that makes me so happy. Somebody tweeted today, they were like, the whole movie is like a fictional, a dramatized version of your Why Not speech.
Totally. It's inspiring. It's like an inspiring movie. It makes you want to make a movie.
Awesome.
Yep.
Or
Clerks
something.
3.
Make
Make sure to see
make
Clerks
one
3.
and then make a couple sequels as well.